All right. So another webinar. So change of format today. So I guess we'll kind of just jump into this. And my name is Jason, CEO and founder of Tarvent. And we've got Derek. Let you introduce yourself.
How's it going? Derek, mainly on the UI side of things, but also most likely you talk to me in support. So if you've reached out, the one that usually answers those tickets. So yeah.
All right. So yeah, it's been busy since last week. Lots of things going on. Not always stuff that you guys can see on in the UI, but tons and tons of stuff going on to make life better, make Tarvent life better. And so I guess we'll go over some of those changes. And first change, yeah, kind of last on our list, but the first change is just our webinar format's going to change a little bit. So instead of we kind of alluded to this last week or talked about it last week, but basically we're going to go to a monthly webinar instead of weekly. So we're going to go to a monthly webinar, talk about company updates for the month. We're making this change just because we are a small company. We have small, our resources are limited. So we're going to be putting out more videos that are going to be helpful with using Tarvent, getting to know Tarvent, and that sort of thing. So we're still going to be doing a bunch of videos. We're just not going to do as many live videos. And so we're going to kind of keep that to a minimum. But anyway, so once a month, because we still think it's important that you guys can hear directly from us to hear about some of the company updates that we have and just kind of see where Tarvent's going and what we're doing, make sure we're still alive and we got a heartbeat and all that good stuff. So that's kind of a change that's going on. So this is the first of that. So just so you guys know, see the first webinar with that new format, and we're just going to kind of go from there. But anyway, so we've made a lot of changes. There's been a lot of performance enhancements on the back end. There's been a lot of data cleanup and that sort of thing because there's just a lot of stuff that was going on the backside that was starting to slow things down a little bit. And so we're working on purging that and getting things kind of up to where they need to be. So that was kind of going on. That was one of the things on the backside that you guys won't see anything that is related to that, but it had a good result. And what I mean by that is we've made some UI changes that actually Derek was thinking maybe you could just kind of pull up because there are some UI changes that they could see. So we don't really talk about this, but I'm going to add your live stream in so we can kind of go over some of these changes quick so you can kind of see what we are doing. So the first thing we did, people have been asking about is there's a challenge that we have that most other solutions don't have. And what that challenge is in our system, we'll have multiple audiences. So an audience, other systems have one master list, and then they have multiple lists within your account. So that same contact could be part of multiple lists, but the profile is the same. So it's the same profile, they're just associated with multiple lists. In our system, we have that same concept, but we also have multiple master lists or what we call audiences. So those audiences allow you to run multiple brands within a single account, and it primarily lets you isolate those opt-outs. So you can opt out, a customer can opt out of the system, and what they're doing is they're opting out of that one audience, or that one brand. And with that, you can have multiple profiles for a contact. So audience 1 may have fields 1, 2, and 3, and audience 2 could have fields 5, 8, 7. So whatever it is. So you can have multiple custom fields per audience. So anyway, with that, the problem is that if you create a campaign and that campaign it gets associated with an audience, and what that does is it tells our system what fields are available for you to use for personalization and conditional content. So it really kind of nails that down. Problem that we've run into is that customers will create a campaign. they'll lock it in on one audience, but then realize they picked the wrong audience, or there was a change. They need to use a different audience, and we didn't have a way to change that. And that was kind of on purpose because we didn't want people to make mistakes where they have all this personalization, they change it, and then they don't test it and send it. Well, that kind of that was just a misjudgment on our side. So there's feedback that you want to change the audience when you're in a campaign. So now we have the ability to do that. So you can go in, and I'll just let Derek kind of take over and show you where that's at.
Yeah. So once you're in your campaign, if you want to change your audience, it's only available within the campaign editor. It's not available on the list page, just because it's not something you should be doing very often. It's kind of just worst case scenario, you need to switch the audience. But anyway, so once you're in your campaign editor, then you can go to this more menu at the top right. And if you click that, then you'll see this option to change audience. And then what this will do, just give you a list of the audiences that you have available. Then you can select that and then update the audience for this campaign. The one thing that I just want to make sure to call out is that it could break your conditional content and personalization, kind of like what Jason was talking about. So if you have a merge tag in your content that, let's say in your audience, you have the data field customer ID, for example. So if you have that in your content and then you go to switch the audience and that customer ID field doesn't exist in your other audience, then that it just won't merge any content in where that merge tag is at. And same thing with conditional content. If you're checking to see if the customer ID equals a certain value, it'll just never be true because that data field doesn't exist within that new audience. So just be mindful of that when you're switching audiences, that it could break your personalization or your conditional content just based off of what data fields are available in each audience.
Yeah, so it's a nice feature. And again, most people don't have multiple audiences. We suggest that you don't run multiple audiences unless you have a very specific need. Like other solutions that have lists, we have groups. So it's kind of the same principle. We have public groups and private groups within an audience, so you can add people to those. And the whole difference between public and private, we've gone over in other places, and so we've got documentation on that. Otherwise, you can always reach out to support and ask strategy questions on when you would use public and private groups or multiple audiences. But anyway, so for most people, one audience is perfect. But then this allows you to change that if you run multiple audiences. And if you do need multiple audiences, you don't know where to do that, just go into account settings. You can just go into your account. In the settings, there is an area where you can enable multiple audiences, which gives you that option then to create another audience. So that's first one. The next one is your audience. So for a contact, we had the little icon for the contact. And if they had a Gravatar image, then we'd show the Gravatar image. So we've just made a change to that to make it look a little more colorful and better help identify each contact from each other using these colored circles instead of it just being one color, being more generic looking. So that's another one we've done. Then the third one, which has been asked about several times, is our paging. So with our pages, we allowed you to have, it was 5, 10, 20, or was it 50? I think was the last option.
No, I think it was just 5, 10, 20.
Okay, so it's like 5, 10, and 20. So you can have 5 records per page, 10 records per page, or 20 records per page. People are asking for more. And so we had a performance issue on the backside with rendering it quick enough. And so we fixed that performance issue. And as a result, we've now given you the option to have a greater number of pages up to 100. So we've given you 50 and 100 as additional options there. Cool thing about that is it does remember it. So it remembers it. Is it per audience or is it just?
Not yet. That'll be functionality we're going to add in, but that's not quite there yet.
Okay. All right. So I jumped the gun on that one. So we are planning to make it so it'll remember it. So whatever you do set it to, then it'll remember that, but it isn't there quite yet. So my bad on that one. All right. So the next one is we've added some shortcut keys. So some additional shortcut keys. So with that, Derek, I'll let you kind of take it over and you can explain how that works.
Yeah. So just in the editor, let's go back to one of these campaigns. Yeah, so we just made it easier to delete items. And this is something that I personally have run into using our editor that I wish we would have just added a long time ago. But it's just once you're selected on an item, then you can just you can press the D key on your keyboard, or you can press the delete key on your keyboard, and that'll delete the item. So you don't have to click it and then click this delete element icon. You can just do it from your keyboard, just makes it a lot quicker. And that's just something that with other editors we've used, whether it be a website builder or a landing page builder, or whatever else, that's just kind of standard with those editors. So now it's in Tarvent, easier to delete items and just quicker for when you're editing your emails. And then additionally, we added a shortcut or a short key for duplicating an element. So instead of having to click this icon, you can click Shift C. So Shift C will duplicate the item and just put it right underneath. But yeah, so those are just some shortcuts we added, or short keys, whatever you want to call them, that we added to the editor to make the process just quicker. So that'll definitely help speed up your editing process.
Yeah, we do have other shortcut keys. So, Derek, can you just show them where they can see
Yeah.
the shortcut keys? Yeah, so there's a ton of shortcut keys. So if you're more of a power user and you don't like to use the mouse for everything and you want to speed things up, then you can use the shortcut keys to kind of navigate throughout the system and perform different actions with those keys. And if you have other shortcuts that you would like added that would just make your life easier, reach out, let us know. You can let us know in the comments of this video. Otherwise, email us at support@tarvent.com or submit a support ticket or what have you. But let us know if you have any ideas on any other shortcut keys that you might want to have in there. So we've got that. And then let's see. For RSS campaigns. So RSS campaigns, the image, we didn't allow you to link the image before out to your blog. So now we have that in there. So you can, when you create a RSS email or RSS campaign, you'll now be able to link that image out to the to your blog or what have you. So so with that, those are the latest changes that we've made. We have plenty more coming down the pipe, and we've made a lot of, in addition to this, we've just made a lot of little changes all throughout the UI or the user interface to make it easier to navigate around. And as usual, as we've talked about before, our goal is to minimize all the clicking, minimize navigation so you can get through things as absolutely fast as possible. And we're also taking some things out that nobody uses to make it a little more simplified, because 99% or 99.9% of the people won't use the functionality. And so we're just, in some cases we went overboard, some cases we went under. So we're kind of balancing that out a little bit. So we're just working on making the system as absolutely easy and fast as possible. So, so with that, just you can on the homepage or on the dashboard, Derek, if you can go to that. So on the dashboard, there's the what's new. So you always be able to stay updated on our what's new. We try to update that when we do the push. When we do pushes of new functionality, sometimes it's a little bit behind, but we try to keep that as up to date as possible to let you know what changes we've made. And for me, it's nice just because it also helps us just look alive, because if you don't notice the changes, you may not think we're doing anything other than just kind of sitting around and, not doing much. But we're working a lot. So anyway, so with that, like I said, our webinar is going to be monthly. So, we kind of went over that already. But anyway, let's get to the questions. So we've got a few questions that have come up, and want to kind of go over that stuff. So first question is, how can I edit the confirmation email that a contact receives after submitting a form? So we have two different types of emails that could be sent out while Derek's navigating to this. So when you're in a form there, you can send a confirmation and you can also send a notification. So confirmation email goes to the person that submitted the form. The notification is going to go to you, and that can include form data and whatever. So there's two different types of emails that can be sent. So with that, I'll hand that over to you, Derek, so you can kind of show how that works.
Yeah. So this will be the same for all the form types. I believe this question came up on the forward to friend form, but it's the same for all the different form types. So like Jason said, the confirmation email is the one that goes to the person that submitted the form. So if you want to edit that email, well, first you can enable it here, and then you can go into edit it. So this is just kind of the default we have in here is a really generic message. But if you want to add in your branding, add in a different message, then you can. So yeah, that's where you'll come to update that email that gets sent to the person that submits the form. And then one thing I just want to call it because it's come up in support quite a bit is where does this notification email go to? So this notification email goes to the account owner. So if you go into account settings and then look at the account owner in there, that will be the person that receives this notification email. We have an item to make this more flexible so you can add custom recipients, kind of like how a Journey notification email works, if you're familiar with that. But for right now, this notification email will go to the account owner. So yeah, that's how you update that email.
Yep, definitely something we need to work on. So, all right. So the next question: how can I change the reply to email for a campaign or Journey email? I thought I set it up correctly, but when I send a test to myself, it doesn't have the correct reply to email. Why?
Yeah, I can go over this one quick. So yeah, this one's come up in support a couple times. So first, I'll just answer how you set the reply to email. So in your campaign, it's the same thing in Journey email as well. The editor looks pretty much the exact same. So if you're in your editor, then you can go into settings. And in this settings dialog, you'll see this reply handling section. So this is where you set the email address that you want the replies to go to. And you have two options. One is to track the reply emails and then forward it to an email address. The other is to reply directly to an email address. And the difference between these two is obviously if you track reply emails, you'll be able to see how many people replied to your campaign within Tarvent. And you'll be able to see those replies within the contact details. Where reply directly to, the reply will go directly to you. It won't go through our system at all. The only downside with the reply directly to is that you'll receive all replies. So whether that's an out of office reply, some other automated reply, those won't get filtered out. They'll get sent directly to you. So yeah, that's where you set up your reply settings. And then the second part of this question is, I thought I set it up correctly, but when I send a test to myself, it doesn't have the correct reply to email. Why? So that's because when you go through the send test, when you click this test button to send yourself a test, the reply to isn't set at that point. It's only set when it's sent to the actual recipients of the campaign. And the reason why is because that reply to email has all the information for us to track that reply. So that it has the campaign information, has the account information, so that when the contact replies, we can get all that information to associate with the correct campaign. So then when you send a test, it's just going to default it to whatever your from email address is. But yeah, that's why. So if you're using a test, the reply to won't reflect the settings that you have set up. It's only once the campaign is actually sent.
All right. So I think hopefully that makes sense to everybody. If not, let us know. I swear, I think my chair just keeps getting lower and lower and lower. I don't understand why my chair is doing that, but
You're just
I feel
getting
like
shorter.
I'm that guy behind the bar that's doing those fake steps, but just I don't know what's going on with my chair right now. So that's always fun. But all right. So the next question: how can I send an email to everybody that completed a specific journey? And we actually have three ways to do this. So I'm going to, since Derek's got the screen, I'm going to let him jump over it. So the first way is going to be segmentation using journey behaviors. And then we also have tags and groups. So there's three different ways that we can send an email to everybody that completed a journey. So I'll let you kind of take it over and show how that works.
Yeah. Yeah, so like Jason said, there's 3 ways. So the first way you can do it is through a segment. So if you go into audience, go into segments, and then create a segment, then you can come in here and add a rule for journey activity. So let me scroll down. So if you do journey activity, then you'll have a couple of different operators. You can say in journey, not in journey, or completed. So in this case, for this question, you put completed, and then you'd select whatever journey you want to check. So we could just say my new contacts. So then this segment will get everybody that completed the my new contacts journey. So that's one way to do it. This is a good way to do it if you know for sure that this will always be the journey that you're wanting to check. But there's the other solution is to do it based off of a tag. So I'll just go into a journey really quick to show how this would work. Let's see, customer purchase journey. Looks like. So in this journey, we have a couple triggers and then a couple actions. But anyways, the only important part of this is that at the end of your journey, oh man, this has quite a few things in it. So anyways, at the end of your journey, let's just imagine this is one path, just for simplicity. But so at the end of your journey, you'll add an add tag action. So that add tag action could be onboarded. It could be done with journey. Whatever tag you want to add to indicate that they reached the end of this journey, you can do that. So then once the contact goes through the journey, they get to that add tag action, that tag will be added to them. And then you can create a segment that checks for that tag. So then any contact with the tag that was added will be in that segment, and you can send a campaign to them or do whatever you need to do with that segment. And similarly to tags, you can do the same thing with a group. So instead of the add tag action, you do an add group action, and then you would set up a group you can add them to, so that once they reach the end of this journey, adds them to that group. So then kind of the same thing. You have everyone that completed the journey. And I normally suggest using the tag or group method just because you're not locked into one specific journey. There's just been cases where people will build a journey and then they just don't want to use it anymore, so they build another one. So if you do that, then using a tag or group allows you to use different journeys to achieve the same goal instead of it being tied to one specific journey. So yeah, that's how I do it.
And obviously, the fourth option is just to add an email to the end of the journey that sends it to them. But in this case, it was more kind of an after the fact thing, of how do I send an email later on? That's not part of the journey. So anyway, all right. So my next question, my import failed due to values in the column mapped to the country field, causing an invalid format error. Why? Pretty sure I know the answer on this one, but since you do the support, I'm going to let you answer this one.
Yeah. So our imports specifically for, I think it's phone number field, country field, our help document has it, but there's specific fields that need to be in a specific format. And if they're not in that format, it'll cause that value to not be imported. And country is one of those. So country, we go based off of the country code and also the country name in the language that your account is set to. So if it's English, then it'll go off for the English country names. But yeah, so you'd either need to import. Well, it's kind of weird. For United States, it needs to be US. It can't be United States. It has to be the letters US, because that matches the country code. And for whatever reason on the validation, it needs to just match US. But let's just take another country. Let's just take Brazil, for example. So Brazil, you could import it as BR, or you could import it as the name Brazil, and those two will work. But if the value doesn't match the country code, or it doesn't match the name of the country, then it will fail that validation. And so that's just part of because it's a country code on the backend side, we have to make sure that it's the correct format. So if you're putting in a hyphenated version or a shorter version, an abbreviated version of the country, it just won't work. So it needs to be that country code, but it can also be in the language that your account is set to, the country name. But yeah, so if you see that error, in particular the US, that's come up a couple times, it's because the United States needs to be US. It can't be the words United States. That's just one weird area in the system. But yeah, so that's why you'd be seeing that invalid format error.
Yeah, So the US is a weird one. We use a third-party data source to grab all the standards based on Unicode. So I'm not exactly sure why that one is what it is, but anyway.
Yeah, I think it's actually
So
Microsoft. Now that I'm thinking back
oh,
to
that's
what
true.
we
Yeah.
use,
Yep.
it's
So
I don't know
yeah,
why Microsoft decided to do that, but they did.
yeah, kind of odd. But all right. The campaign checklist is saying I'm missing, or wait, do it? Oh, yeah, yeah. So the campaign checklist says I'm missing an unsubscribe link. How do I add an unsubscribe link and why is it required? So I can tell you why it's required based on CAN spam and um, CCPA and all the different laws out there, GDPR and all that stuff. They have an unsubscribe link. So it is something that you need to have in there. Most of the ESPs out there are requiring it now. It used to be an optional thing. Now it's just it's a requirement. It needs to be on there. And we have an unsubscribe. There's a couple different ways that unsubscribes work. I won't get into too many details on that, other than there's a header that we provide, but then you also need to add in that link down at the bottom. So, well, wherever you're going to add it. So, Derek, in the editor, I'll let you jump in and show how you add that in.
Yeah. So there's two I guess two ways you can add it in. So the first way, that's the easiest, is you can just drag on this footer control. So in the footer control, we already have an unsubscribe link in it. This goes to our quick unsubscribe. Um, so that's honestly the quickest way to do it. But if you want to do something more custom, let me just take this out of here. So if you want to do something more custom, then you can go into a text control. So you'll see I'm in here. If you go into a text control and then you click on this insert link icon, then in here you can pick an unsubscribe link to insert. So in here, there's two options. You can do the quick unsubscribe, which how a quick unsubscribe works is the contact clicks the unsubscribe link. It brings them to a page that just has them click a button to confirm their unsubscription. So that's one option. I'd say that's the most commonly used option for our customers, just because it's easy. But the other option is to do an unsubscribe form. So if you do an unsubscribe form, then you can pick, in this case, our audience only has one unsubscribe form. But since we allow multiple unsubscribe forms, you can pick which unsubscribe form you'd like that campaign to go to. And then a contact can control their subscription from within that unsubscribe form. But yeah, just to keep it simple, the easiest way is to either drag on a footer or click the add link and add the quick unsubscribe link. And that will just insert that link into your content. And then once this checklist won't be good until you save. So just another thing, just make sure once you add it, click save, then the checklist will update.
All right. So then on that, some of the things, or there's one other question that came up with the unsubscribe. I don't think we need to show it on the screen right now, but just kind of go over it really quick. Is on an unsubscribe, form, you can add in a groups question. And what that does is it allows a user to hopefully just check or uncheck boxes for public groups that they want to be involved in. And so that way they only get emails for those groups or for those interests. We call them groups because you use them for different things on the backside, but those public groups are kind of like interests. And so when you're creating that unsubscribe form, you add in that group question and they can select which interest they're part of. One of the things, though, is that if they unselect all of the groups, then they'll just get unsubscribed. So that basically means they're unsubscribing from all of the public groups. They could still be part of private groups, but private groups they don't have any control over because they can't see them. So if you put in the group question and they unselect all the public groups, then the system is going to automatically unsubscribe them from the system because that's what they're seemingly intending to do. So just to let you guys know that that's kind of how it works. Profile update, you can also have all the groups in there. If they unselect all the groups, no big deal. But other than that, in a profile update, if you add in the groups question, we're going to require that'll be a required question. So they have to at least select one group. So you could put in a generic group if you want to, and maybe it's just called general information or something. I don't know, whatever you want to call the group, and you can add people. They could select that one, but anyway, that group question, that's what allows them to control that without actually completely unsubscribing from your audience. So just so you know that that's how that unsubscribe works. That's how you insert the link. We also got a question through chat that just says, is groups the same thing as segments? So no, they're not. There is a difference. So a group is static, meaning that once you add somebody to that group or take somebody away from that group is what it is. It stays the same no matter what. Segment, on the other hand, is a question to the database. So it's going to query the database when that segment gets used. And so based on the criteria of that segment, it's going to get everybody that matches the criteria at that time. So for instance, if you create a campaign today and you schedule it to send out next week, Tuesday, then on next week, Tuesday, when it's scheduled to run, it's going to use that segment and get everybody that satisfies that criteria at that point in time. So if a profile gets updated for a contact, maybe they were in the segment at one point, but now they're not. So that's where a segment is going to pick everybody based on that criteria at the time it gets used. Whereas a group, you can use segmentation, or you can use filtering logic or segmentation logic when you create the group. That just inserts all those people or adds all those contacts to that group, and that's just a one time. But once that's done, now that group is static. So unless you uncheck the box per contact, you uncheck the group, they're going to be part of that group from that point on. So that's the difference. Groups are static, segments are dynamic, and they get run at real time, and we'll pick everybody that matches that criteria. So with that, I think that's the last of the questions that we have in here today. So hopefully that answers your questions about the difference between groups and segments, your unsubscribe, and all the different things in there. On that unsubscribe, the editor, that's just one thing to note, is that in our editor, we have a lot of custom tools. So we have a lot of custom toolbar items that are available that are specific to Tarvent, that aren't something that are going to look like what you would see in Word or a standard HTML editor. And we try to put all of those at the beginning. And so you'll notice in ours, all of our Tarvent specific ones are at the beginning and not at the end. So just so you kind of know how our editor is laid out with the toolbars at the top there. Other than that, as we always talk about our affiliate program, we want to make sure that you know that we have an affiliate program. It's awesome. You get anywhere from 20 to 30% commission based on the account's plan that they're on and the number of contacts that they have, and you get that for life. So you get that for the life of the account. So we want everybody to be an affiliate. Tell everybody else, tell your friends about our platform. It is by far one of the least expensive platforms for the features you get. So you really can't beat our solution. And we don't do what we call feature gating. So we don't lock features down based on what plan you're on, because we only have one plan. It's the everything plan. So you get all of the features, and pricing solely based on the number of contacts you have. So hopefully you can jump in on the affiliate program. You just click on your user at the top, and you can become a partner, become an affiliate. Also, like and subscribe. When you like and subscribe, then we'll notify you of the next webinar coming out. And also shows that we've got people watching it and like the content that we're providing. So it's good feedback for us. So we know if we need to change the format, we need to handle things a little bit differently. Maybe in my case, stop talking so much. So, whatever. But please like and subscribe. Follow us on all the social media platforms. We're out there on a bunch of different platforms, so you can always follow us there and stay in the know. Otherwise, the webinars are great way to do that. And if you have any questions that you want to submit, we didn't answer the question that you might have. Submit it. Submit the question. You can go to tarvent.com/webinar and you can submit a question there. Otherwise, you can do it through support, log into Tarvent, or you can just email us. Whatever way you need to, submit questions and we'll be happy to answer those questions. And they can be related to anything and everything. We really don't care. I don't have much of a filter, so I'll answer any question on anything. It really doesn't bother me at all. Otherwise, our next webinar is going to be August 5th. Like I said, we're doing these once a month. So August 5th will be our next webinar, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. So whatever your time zone is, convert it. And we will see you next month.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching.
All right. See you next time.